So in this video, I'm going to talk about my favorite Fujifilm lens, the 16mm 1.4. What's up guys, Reggie B Photo here and welcome back to the channel. So for those of you who are new, my name is Reggie Ballesteros. I'm a wedding photographer based in the San Francisco Bay Area. So the 16mm 1.4 is actually a popular favorite amongst a lot of Fujifilm photographers. And because of that, there's actually a lot of videos and reviews about this lens. So I'm not going to go into any discussion about the sharpness, doing bokeh tests, image comparisons, or anything scientific like that in this video. Instead, we're just going to do a casual discussion and talk about the 4 reasons why it's my favorite Fujifilm lens. So the first reason is that it has a unique combination of optical characteristics. So first, it's a wide angle lens, so it has a wide field of view. Basically, that means you can fit a lot into the frame from a single perspective. In addition to that wide field of view, it has a large aperture of 1.4, which gives you some nice low light capabilities, shallow depth of field, and that bokeh that everyone wants. And probably the most important optical characteristic to me is that it has a close minimum focus and a relatively large magnification ratio. So each of these optical characteristics on their own are enough reasons for somebody to go out and purchase a lens, but having them all together and package it in one lens gives the ability to get a very unique image. And that type of image is something that is very, very close, high magnification of a small object, and it's something that will give you a lot of very smooth and creamy bokeh, but still give you enough context in the background to kind of see what's there because it's a wide angle lens. And this is an effect that I really sought out after switching to Fujifilm because my all-time favorite lens is actually a Nikon lens. The 28mm 1.8 has this same effect. While there's a little bit of differences in terms of the field of view, the 16mm 1.4 is more of a 24mm full frame equivalent, and in order to get actually a 1.8 full frame equivalent on crop, you'd have to have a 1.2 aperture. But for the most part, the 16mm 1.4 really still gets very close to that same effect. And the reason why I really love this effect is because I use the 28mm 1.8 lens to do probably my most favorite personal photography project that I've ever done, and that is my Lego minifigure portrait series. I did about like 75 Lego minifigure portraits, and a large majority of them were done with the 28mm 1.8G. Because of that, I'm thinking of picking up that project using the Fujifilm system. So let me know down in the comments below if you think I should pick it up now that I've got the 16mm 1.4. So the next reason why the 16mm 1.4 is my favorite lens is because it is extremely versatile. So because you have the 1.4 aperture, you can use it in low light, but at the same time you can use it outdoors in daylight, bright conditions. You can also use the lens for a lot of different types of photography. It's very good at anything that traditionally is used with wide angle lenses. So landscapes, cityscapes, extreme sports, events, and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's also good at things that you probably might not think were good with wide angle lens. So for instance, food photography, any type of pseudo-macro photography, product photography, because it really has that close minimum focus distance and that large magnification ratio. It gives you the ability to get a little bit more context, but still get close to your subject. And I think the most controversial thing that it's good at, in my opinion, is environmental portraiture. A lot of people don't think that wide angle lenses can be used for portraiture because of the distortion, because of the extreme perspective. And to challenge that, I actually made another video linked up above and down in the description below of how to shoot portraits with the 16mm 1.4 specifically. So basically how to shoot portraits with a wide angle lens. So the next reason why it's my favorite lens, and it might sound actually like a reason why it shouldn't be my favorite lens, but it is because it is a challenging lens to use. So because it's challenging, it's always pushing me as a photographer to kind of think out of the box, to challenge my composition skills, and to just be very aware of what I'm doing all the time. And the reason why it's challenging is because of, again, the wide field of view and the distortion that comes along with it. So because you have such a wide field of view, there's so many things inside the frame, and you really have to pay attention to the composition. Every single thing that's inside your composition has to play a part in it, or else it's going to detract from the photo. Unlike the 56mm 1.2, which you to pretty much just obliterate the background, and the composition is very focused. With the 16mm 1.4, even though you have that 1.4 aperture, that doesn't mean there's going to be distracting things eliminated from the background. So you have to take that into account and be careful in how you compose everything. And also that wide angle effect, the distortion, the exaggerated perspective is also a challenge to do as well, because you have to be very mindful of not even just how close you stand to your subject, but where you place that subject inside the frame, or even just how you tilt up and down, left and right of your camera, because any small minute change will change all the vertical and horizontal lines pretty severely. So that again is something that's challenging every photographer that uses it to be very mindful and intentional about how they're shooting with it. So I'm sure you're thinking, man, all these things are things that would hurt the photo if done unintentionally. And this kind of leads me to my next point, and my final reason why it's my favorite Fujifilm lens is it's because it is a high risk, high reward lens. So what I mean by this is that yes, it's really difficult to use. Yes, it doesn't always make sense to use it in every situation. But if you as a photographer kind of think out of the box and try to think about how you can integrate it to certain photos, that's not to say you should force it when it's not going to work. But if you're able to figure out a way that you can use it for photography genres that are typically not used for, so for example environmental portraits, you're just like wedding portraits or any type of portraiture, then you know what, once you get the lighting right, you get the composition right despite everything that's included in the frame, you get all the lines right despite all the distortion and the very sensitive line perspectives and all that stuff from tilting your camera, and you just kind of get that little X factor of emotion or anything like that. Once that all comes together, it is such an epic and awesome and dope picture that's created. And that's where I mean it's a high risk, high reward. And because I know that a great photo is possible with that lens, it really encourages me to use it all the time. It's actually my favorite lens to take out when I go on vacation or when I do any type of personal photography. And for my professional gigs like my portraiture and wedding photography, I'm still taking it out as much as I can make sense of it, just to give myself a different perspective. I kind of roll the dice to see if I get lucky with a really awesome picture. In general, at this point in my photography career, all the photos that I really end up really liking a lot and that I feel that define my brand have been created with this lens. And I think that is not on accident. It's really one of those lenses that are going to push you to the limit, push you to be super aware of everything you're doing. At the same time, like I said before, if you really master it and practice with it and you're intentional with it, then you're going to be rewarded very highly if you do it right. So again, this review was not technical at all, and a lot of the things are kind of just emotions and just feelings about how I feel about the lens, but I'm hoping that the example photos are proof that this lens can do something pretty magical if you learn to master it and be disciplined enough to kind of take care when composing with the 16mm 1.4. I do have a link to the lens in the description below if you do want to support the channel at no additional cost to you. If you have any questions about the lens or any of the photographs that I showed, please let me know down in the comments below. And please be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I make a new Fujifilm or photography video just like these two every other week. And if you want to see more of my photo work like what I showed today, you can follow me on Instagram at ReggieBPhoto for new posts every single day. Alright, that's it for me. Remember to get out, go shoot, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.